Schools need funding to improve student outcomes and to support essentials, like hiring qualified staff, maintaining safe buildings, and providing materials. However, did you know that there are adequacy gaps of $4.8 billion and 73% of school districts in Pennsylvania? As a result of limited funding, teachers invest almost $1,000 annually on school supplies in Pennsylvania, which is higher than the national average. In this documentary, we will dig deeper into the question, why do some schools have more opportunities and resources than others in the same state? Let's talk about it. This 4.8 million large adequacy gap means that more than half of schools are unequally funded by the state. This is a big problem because funding inequality causes drastic differences in quality and poor and wealthy districts that are difficult to fill. This is particularly worse in Philadelphia because our school district is the only district in Pennsylvania that cannot directly levy taxes. This makes them rely on state funding and local property tax from city council to operate schools. Now, watch these interviews from SLA Bieber teachers and see how funding affects our school.
For the Philly public schools, I would say yes, it definitely is not a system that seems to be working right now. I don't think that they have a good sense at any given time of how much money they can count on between like the state and the city council, and it makes it really hard to do long-term planning, and it makes it really hard to make sure that like all the schools are getting the funding that they need. I think we need to compare us to, I think, other even suburban public schools. The disparities are so sharp. Facilities are definitely an issue. I think they've been investing in this school in a lot of ways. Facilities, equipment, it's kind of across the board that we are struggling in a lot of ways. Teachers, short on teachers. That you sometimes see schools that have more or less input from alumni or parent associations, just depending on like the demographics of the school. So for example, someplace like Central High School with a very long standing alumni association can easily like go to their alumni and like solicit donations and say like, hey, can you fund this project that we're doing, or could you fund this extra like position? And so sometimes the newer schools can't do that kind of thing. A lot of the older high schools have that capacity. If you're in a like working class neighborhood versus more like a middle class neighborhood, you might have like more parent support in the building and more like donations to home and school and those kinds of things that make an impact on the quality of life in schools. You don't necessarily see all the details of every school budget or even like how they're determined. I try not to track it too carefully, but I spend a fair amount, probably several $100s on things like tissues or pencils or colored pencils or whatever else it is that I feel like I need in my room.
After interviews and further research, we see that Pennsylvania is operating with an unconstitutional funding system. This disproportionate level of funding will result in teacher shortages, a growth in inexperienced teachers, lower staff salaries, and make an environment where students cannot flourish. Our city and state need to do better. Students in the Philly district should have equal opportunities to succeed. To advocate for change, you can organize to communicate with state legislators. Make noise about this issue to the public, gain supporters, and create testimonies. It's up to you to take the first step.